He wanted to get laid and wanted familiarity for his work. He wanted fame. Money didn't matter, and he didn't want to get messed up in lawyers. So he would give away all of his rights and then become famous. It was a Faustian bargain. And that's been going on for quite a while. And now we're getting down to the last gasp of the system that was able to go on doing that to people. I mean, I wrote songs with the Grateful Dead for a good many years. I have never seen such piracy as was enacted on other artists around me of a wide variety by the record industry. I'm astonished that they have the temerity to call people who do a little file sharing pirates. And I'm astonished that they say, well, you know, what will people do without being incentivized for getting paid for what they do? They're not getting paid now because the record industry has already removed all of their rights. Generally speaking, that's a fact. In any event, this has to do with free speech, and I'm winding myself gradually around to this, so bear with me. There are at present quite a number of, and there have been since 1990 when I first got seriously involved in trying to stop this. There have been a lot of efforts on the part of the physically powerful and wealthy from the industrial period to make sure that this thing didn't get away from them. The internet scared the dickens out of them. Or they just didn't get it. I mean, I remember sitting on a panel in Washington, D.C. in 1997 with the president of AT&T, Bob Allen, who told me that he thought that this internet thing I was so interested in was a toy not unlike CB radio. And as soon as they got their information superhighway architecture out there where they could really be, responsible citizens, it would no longer be this science fair project. 97. So, I mean, it's difficult to, it's very difficult to get somebody to understand that well. I had a good piece of fortune with regard to all this. I wrote for a band for many, many years in the United States, which was not so famous here, called the Grateful Dead. And the Grateful Dead may have invented viral marketing by accident. Early back in the 60s, we woke up one day and realized that the people who came into our concerts were taping them, which gave us to think that we were being ripped off in some way. We didn't know exactly what they were stealing, but it just felt like they were stealing something. So we spent some time kicking them out. Now, have any of you ever met a deadhead? It's a culture. Been to America, met a deadhead, tie-dyed shirt, etc.? Okay. So you know that they're basically pretty harmless. And it's not good for your karma to be mean to a deadhead. It just isn't. Especially if you're the Grateful Dead. I mean, we had limited conscience, but that felt bad to us. So at one point, Jerry Garcia, who was the sort of the leader of this band, said, well, hell, it doesn't matter, we're not in it for the money anyway. As if they were stealing something from us. And that was an easy thing to say because at that point we weren't making any money. We were an obscure cult band with bad records and completely non-linear representation by Warner Brothers who had no idea how to market us. So we started letting these kids come back in and tape our concerts, and those tapes, interestingly enough, which we set free and asked for nothing, became the substrate of a community that got so large and dedicated that at the time that we actually died, though we seem to have been reborn again, I don't know. At the time we actually died in 1995, we could fill any stadium in America anytime we wanted to. I mean, this was largely by the expediency of hauling our entire audience around with us. But we could. you know, and it was very lucrative. And it all was the result of our having taken an act of faith and given it all away. This is an economic model that works far more often than anybody is capable of understanding. It only works with regard to expression and information. Now then, come to the service of the argument that I mean to put forward. There is, for example, in Europe at the moment, I know you're in Europe, but not that Europe, there is a strong initiative to make ISPs accountable for anything that passes through their system, so as to stop all this flagrant piracy. Well, I can understand why that would seem like a reasonable thing to do, since you think that there's no difference between listening to a song on the radio and having it stolen from a CD from a record store, but never mind that. If they put in that level of surveillance, how easy do you think it's going to be for you to say something that some future government doesn't like, that you don't want them to know you're saying? How easy is it going to be for you to have a conversation that they can't pick up on, even if you encrypt it? Because they will know exactly what IP address it started in and exactly what IP address it ended up in, and the ISPs will be presenting them with logs of all that all the time. Now that's ostensibly to protect freedom of expression. I mean, to protect the right to property. And I would say that this is not real property. But the net effect is to censor the internet. Now I have look, I'm an old hippie, so I can talk this way. I have a dream, and have had all my life. And it wasn't until I was in my 40s that it suddenly became obvious to me that this dream actually could be realized. My dream, well, there are two aspects of it. First of all, that anybody who has anything to say, whether he has a printing press or a radio station or a television station or some other medium I don't know about, would have the ability to say it and spread it to everybody who was interested in what he had to say. If it was any good, it might self-propagate. If it weren't, it'd die. And many people have said things in the past that needed to be preserved and understood. We are moving into this incredibly rich ecosystem of human thought. We have, for the first time, the ability to convey a right that nobody, not in the United States, where they really thought about rights a lot, nobody even thought about conveying the right to know, the right to hear, the right to speak and be heard, the right to ignore as well, obviously. Nobody thought about that because it was never practically available before. We have it in our grasp at the moment. We have it in our grasp to create a future where anybody, anywhere, will be able to say or manifest or play or make a film of, or all the things you can do and turn into bits, will be able to express themselves. And anybody, anywhere else, will be able to take advantage of that expression if they're interested. And I cannot imagine a better gift that we could give our children. I mean, my principal objective is to be a good ancestor. You know, and I'm not asking for congratulations on this. It seems practical to me. I mean, why go to the bother of raising children if you don't mean them to be in a world that you would